Oh man, oh man, oh man. We are back with another episode. Finally got something special that came in. Your boy put in a big order for brakes for the whole Houston team. We got LH4s, we got LHTs, and we even have EP8s. And if you haven't seen one of these Lewis Tech unboxings, well, welcome. You're about to see your first one. Here are the LH4s. Dude, clean. The caliper looks good. Dude, these are some high quality brakes. Some would even argue that these, the Lewis Tech brand, are the best brand mountain bike brakes they can get for your e-bikes or Ontalaria, etc. There's no pads that are installed, but we have our little goodie bag here. A set of pads, your bolts, whatever these things are. I think these are additional bolts for something. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me show you the ones I'm going to be putting on my bike, which are the LHTs. Oh, but before I do that, let me show you also what I'm throwing on the re-road. 3mm 220 rotor. Had to upgrade the rotor. Seemed like the perfect time to do it when I got new brakes. And after riding Dave's bike and his LHTs, I was like, yeah, I gotta have them. So here are the black LHTs and the, what do we call this? Caliper. Yep, you got your caliper here. And you might be wondering, okay, well, what is the difference between the LH4s and the LHTs, because there is a price difference. Well, right here on the pistons, you have, on the LH4s, you have one smaller piston and one bigger piston. On the LHTs, you have two bigger pistons. And then you have more adjustments in the lever than you would on the LH4. So, a little higher quality. Well, I don't want to say higher quality, but more higher performing brakes with the LHT. So, but I also wanted to show the EP8s, which is their beefy 8-piston Sur-Ron brakes. Now these are going to a guy in the group. His name is Fee. I told him, I said, hey dude, once you install them, let me know, because I want to test them out. And he said, yeah. He's also got a Socin motor, so he's got like a high power setup, like a 72 volt, bunch of power. It makes sense to get the EP8s on something like that. But dude, look how beefy that is. Remember, LHT caliper, 4-piston. The EP8s, 8-piston. This, the EP8, is a DOT brake, and these are just mineral oil brakes. So believe it or not, just the rear brake, this 8-piston brake, retails at $545. The LHTs for the set retails about $510. And then the LH4s, I don't even know what those retail. Let me see. According to this website, the LH4s retail for $389. So they're not cheap, but I have tested the LHTs. I know that they're great. I haven't tested these ones yet, but I'm looking forward to that. So this is definitely not a budget option for sure. This is when you're like, okay, I want something and I don't want to upgrade again. That's when you would shoot for Lewis. Now I will say that the prices that I just gave you is simply the retail price. I believe most companies are out of stock on them. If you go to emotoworks.com right now, check them out, see if they're in stock. But if you are not able to find them in stock, if you shoot me an email at reese@ampcamp.co, I might be able to help you fulfill an order, because we just got a whole collection of order when they were out of stock. So if you're interested in that, shoot me an email. Might be able to save you a couple dollars as well. I always get deals on stuff. So, and the only bad part was it took 5 weeks from the time we placed the order to the time they showed up at the door. 5 weeks. So I know Lewis was really backed up because of Chinese New Year's, and like, yeah, it's been a frustrating time, but now that they're in, it's like, okay, can breathe a little bit. Now we can do the most important thing, which is enjoy the brakes. And running this rear brake line is going to be a little bit challenging, because the rear brake line goes from there, it goes up through the back of this frame, Then it goes up and it slides along the top, not on this side, but on the other side, top of the frame, and then out, which means that we need to remove the battery, maybe have to remove some stuff in there, but it's gonna take me a little bit of time for sure. So somehow I don't have the right attachment to bleed the brakes for the bleed ports. So we're going to take a break from right now, go hit a ride, but by the end of this video I will show you how I bleed the brakes. We got these Lewis brakes finally on here. Ooh, the Lewis just looks so good on the re-road. It's one of those things where it's like I didn't necessarily need new brakes, but I wanted new brakes. But yeah, now that I have the Lewis on, the thicker rotors should just make wheeling that much better. Whoa. Oh man, having a 220 and a 3mm rotor, I only have to grab the lever a little bit. Like, whew. It's nice. Super, super, super nice. That guy's coming down on one way looking at me like, no, you came down on one way. I know it's kind of irresponsible to go and ride without having them properly bled, but you know, I got enough pressure in the line to make it happen. What other updates do I have for you guys? You remember my whole sumo build that I've been talking about for like 2 weeks now, 3 weeks? Well, the spokes finally came in. I built the front wheel and then I realized I wasn't filming myself building them. I was like, oh wait, I need to film myself building a rim for YouTube. So I put a pause on that because I got these rims specially imported. I was like, you know what, with the tires, I need to get some imported tires too. Why? Because I want to. That's really it. I was thinking about just getting some Michelins and calling it a day, but I was like, you know what, no. For this project, we're going all out. Man, back in downtown. And it feels good. Weather is kind of breezy. But feels good nonetheless. Now I'm gonna go hit up this pizza spot that's right here on the corner. Take the key out because we are in Houston. Yeah, I'll be right back. Okay, I don't know how this ride is gonna be because there's always super loud music when I'm in the pack, but will be a good opportunity to test these brakes with some slow wheelies. Do-do-do, do-do-do. Okay, so the slow wheelies are good. Ooh, I gotta get used to having so much bite. Hopefully it's not too loud because there's stereo like boombox things everywhere. But yeah, we'll work on some wheelies and see how these brakes can do. Ooh, downhill. Let's see. Oh yeah. Nice and good. As expected. Ooh. Yeah, it's so crazy. I was looking at the Facebook groups and such, as I do regularly, and there's people on there that'll say like, oh, mountain bike brakes are a waste, you should get DOT brakes or this moto brake or this. And it's like, yeah, no, you should get whatever works for you. You should get whatever you like. Stop telling people what they should get. Like, these mountain bike brakes are more than enough for every single thing that I do, because I ain't racing, I ain't going 80, 90 miles an hour. I don't need DOT brakes. This brake, perfect for my use. I don't need anything more than that. If you need more than that, that's cool. But stop trying to tell people what they need. I'm sure moto brakes are great too. Just not what I need. Okay, rant over. I don't need to ride long to know that these brakes are fantastic. They're treating me right. They feel good. They're everything I wanted more, so now I can finally call it for brakes. Alright, let's see them wheelies. I'm gonna follow Sev around. Okay, alright, that was good. He's getting so much better on his XXX. You know, from a worm to control. Now he rides that thing like he knows what he's doing. Love to see it. All right, I think that's pretty much enough of this ride. Let's get to the brake bleed time. All right, so it's been a few days. I finally got the new brake kit. Gonna go ahead and bleed the Lewis brakes. What I will say is that I did not invent this technique. This is something that I saw on Facebook some time ago, and it's really easy to follow. So the method I'm showing you might not be the professional way, but it is a way to get it done. And before we get that done, I want to show you some of the adjustments on the levers of the LHTs because it's pretty nice. So the first one that you can adjust is the midpoint or the center point of the brake. There's these dotted lines here. I'll show you how you can adjust that in a second. But the main one that a lot of people will probably use is the reach, which is this knob right here on the side, and that's just going to show you like how far out you want your lever, or if you want your lever closer to the bar, that's how you would adjust it. But inside of this reach adjustment is a little hole here. You can see it's silver, and with each one of these Lewis brakes you get this little tool. Oh, just dropped that. Okay. And you put this tool inside of that little spot here. And this is how you would adjust the bite point. So if you want it to be really tight when you squeeze the lever, that's how you would adjust it, or you can loosen that up. You can fine tune this thing to whatever your preferences are. So the first thing that we're gonna do is remove the bleed port screw on the top here. Now that we got the bleed port out, I'm gonna connect the funnel. I'm using this kit that I got on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description below. It has metal fittings that I like. You can hand tighten it, no reason to crank down on it, and attach the funnel. So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to take off this rear caliper, take out the brake pads, and insert a bleed block. So now that we have that bleed block installed, I'm going to go ahead and remove the bleed port screw here, and then I'm going to attach our good old handy dandy syringe. Attach the syringe. I'm gonna wipe off some of this oil while it's on here. A little bit that came out. And I am going to push fluid, but not all of it. You know, just push it till you're almost empty here. Nice and slow. And I'm gonna look up top to see if there's any air bubbles that are coming into the funnel. So I'm still holding here. You'll see that I push the fluid in. You want to make sure you're not putting any more air bubbles in there, so you want to constantly be monitoring that. So I'm going to stop right about here. So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to squeeze this lever a few times. Front lever. And you'll see all these bubbles that are coming in. Don't have to go aggressive, but you see these bubbles coming out. And when you're working it, it's also going to be pushing bubbles down here as well. And the goal is to get to a point where you don't have any bubbles on either end. Now, there's no bubbles coming here, but plenty of bubbles are going that way. And essentially what you need to do is repeat the process of going back and forth until there are no air bubbles going on either direction. So you might have to push a little bit from the syringe and then work the fluid down with clicking in the lever, and then eventually you'll get to a point where there's no more air bubbles in there. All right, we don't have any more bubbles. So I'm going to pitch this line so more fluid doesn't come back down when I unscrew here. And I'm going to reinstall our bleed port screw. All we have to do now is take out our bleed port block, reinstall our pads, get our adjustments, and we should be good to go. Right now I'm just wiping down the caliper as best I can because when you reinstall those pads, you don't want to get any of the oil on the pads themselves. I'm always like trying to be extra careful and touch the back sides of the pads, but never the insides. And now back up top here, we have our funnel. There's still fluid up here. So we want to take our little plunger, put it in there before we unscrew anything. And I'm going to take this out and actually dump it in this thing. And when I take it out, I'm going to empty the remaining stuff inside this like spare thing I have here. Screw it back in. And you don't need to torque down all crazy on this, just very gently. You don't want to ruin the freaking washers and stuff that are in there. Just that bite point by using our little silver tool that we talked about, going clockwise to make it tighter. Now when I do the bite point, I actually go all the way in and then I'll back it out like four turns. And you want to just keep fine tuning it until you get to a place where you like it. For me, lever feels good right about there. I'll show you how to adjust the center point of the brake. You would loosen this little star bolt that's in the lever. And once you have that bolt loosened, you can see what you can do with the lever. Even more adjustability, fine tune where you want, and then tighten it back up to your liking. I like mine right around there. You can see where the white dot is if you're trying to copy my setup. I'm squeezing as tight as I can right now. I'm not touching my knuckles at all. If my hands were on the bars, it's kind of hard to film and show at the same time, but it's got tons of pressure in the line. Love these Lewis brakes. And like I said, I'm not a professional. There's probably a bunch of different ways on how to bleed your brakes. This was just a quick and somewhat easy way to do it. It gets the job done. But that was all that I had for you guys this week. I will see y'all next week.